Welcome, Daniel. Everyone, Daniel is an author of two best-selling, New York best-selling books called Who Says You Can't, You Do, and The Modern Breakup. He is based in Melbourne. Are you currently in Melbourne?
Yeah. Out of lockdown, which
And
is
back
good.
in
No, not back. We're out of lockdown, which is good.
Oh, okay, amazing. We never know with Melbourne. I feel like it had around 50.
Tell me about it.
So, Daniel, do you want to tell us a little bit about your book and your journey as to how you got there, how you became an author, and what inspired you to start writing?
Yeah. I started writing 8 years ago, and I mean, it sounds sort of cliche, but I definitely went through some kind of awakening. Realized the power of my thoughts, how much control I have over my emotions. I mean, not all the time, but a lot more than what I used to think. And started writing just to express myself. And about a year after, I was just writing an exercise book, so like just those plain books, and I had all this writing written out everywhere. And about a year later, it was just like a light bulb moment. I just thought, I'm going to turn this into a book, and it's going to be big. And I remember ringing people up, and I'm like, I know what I'm here to do in my life, and I'm going to write this book. And I was working with my brother at the time, and he's like, yeah, no worries, man. Just get down to the office, all right? And I'm like, yeah. People thought I was crazy. So like, you've never written anything, you don't know how to write a book. And they were probably right. I was crazy.
That's really inspiring. So you never studied writing or journalism or copywriting at school, or never had an interest to write when you were younger?
Never.
Wow.
I subconsciously swore I'd never pick up a pen again when I left school.
Okay, and so what sort of triggered the light bulb moment?
I think it just became a passion. When I started writing, I just found a new love that I had. And I don't know how to paint, I don't know how to sing, so maybe that was my expression. That was the thing that came natural to me. And it sort of evolved. I wouldn't say like I just said I wanted to write a book. I was writing for about a year and then decided to turn it into a book. And that's a whole different ball game then, because you got to structure things and you need to piece all this work. And I started by just putting headers on everything. So I'd go to all these different sections of probably 10 books that I had written out of just literally thoughts and emotions on paper just spilled out. And I would go and, sort of header them. Oh, that can go there and that can go there. And that's how it sort of started getting structure.
Okay, wow. And do you use any tools for that? Do you use a social media platform, or what do you use to, I know that a few authors have resorted to an online social platform to sort of categorize their chapters. Do you use social media? Do you use Word?
No. Well, for the Modern Breakup, I was using one called Scrivener, but I don't think it exists anymore.
Okay.
At the start, when I wrote Who Says You Can't, You Do, that was a while back. And I just, just using Word.
Okay.
Just using Word. Or pages, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a massive online presence on Instagram. You've amassed around 430,000 followers. How do you have any tips as to how you've grown to such a big outreach?
Yeah, well, that was my personal one. I've got one for the Modern Breakup. I don't know if you've seen. We're just about to hit 500K on that.
Wow! Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So that's we're at like 498. So I'm waiting for it to tip over to 500, and I'm going to do a giveaway or something. So that's been more of the focus. Yeah, that one's been more of the focus. I do have to build my personal one again more, but that was through collaborations. Most of it was through collaboration. So teaming up with other pages that are sort of in line with the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a lot of self-care pages. I'd even reach out to like ones that were about anxiety, quotes pages, anything that the Modern Breakup, which is a contemporary romance novel. It's not self-help, but it's got some elements of that in there because this girl goes through a journey and definitely grows and evolves. So I would just, think of anything and everything that had to do with the book, and I would reach out to pages or influencers that were in line with that, and I would work with them.
Yeah, that's
and
a
you
really
get,
good
and you get traction as well. You get traction because it's free marketing. Because once they put it up, which may cost money, then all their fans post it for free. So the way I look at it is, a lot of people sort of, they want to save $1. Like, oh my God, that's $500 a post. But you're not paying $500 a post. You're paying $500 for probably 100 posts.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to end up happening if you've got good content. So that's the power of social media. People do your marketing for you.
Yeah. With The Modern Breakup, seeing as it's a contemporary romance novel, do you touch on social media, or are there communications between the protagonists through Instagram or through text? Is there that kind of...
That's interesting. I've definitely thought about doing stuff like that. And at the start there were. It sort of evolved from there, because when you're doing a page for a brand, especially for a book, you got to be careful not to share too much. So like I was sharing a lot from the characters, and it can have it's a bit of a catch-22, because people end up just staying on the page and they don't buy the book, which is a shame, because it's not just a business thing. I want them to read the book, because I'm like, whatever's on the page isn't even close to what I feel is in the book. So you got to be careful with that. But I have thought of many ideas to do. I was going to actually create separate pages for the characters, but I just thought it's going to be way too much work for the outcome and the benefit. Like, you got to hire people to do it. I couldn't do it on myself, and I just didn't see the benefit of it financially to do that, and for the upkeep of it, and for content as well, because then you got to create content for all these pages. But like I do things from Amelia, which is the protagonist, especially at the start. Like Amelia, I'd always reference the book, so I'd put like a quote up or something, and I'd say Amelia asked these questions, during the book, or she finds answers to this and this and this. Or if I put something up from Zara, which is her friend that's a little bit harder and rough around the edges, and she just says it the way it is, I would say we all need a Zara in our life sometimes.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I would reference the characters and reference the book, but the page starts to become, it gets its own life as well, because you got to stay active, and you got to see what people bite and what they don't, and you start to see things plateau a bit, because you put posting up all this stuff, and all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore. You got to reinvent. So it's a constant creation. You got to evolve. You have to evolve the page, or you lose people. But I was envious actually recently. I looked at the Hinge page, and they've just got one post, says designed to be deleted, and I was like, oh God, that's actually like, it's good, because you make people, they do marketing on the outside, and they know that their page personally is probably not the thing that's going to get people to download the app. It's going to be the marketing on the outside. And and it's sort of, when you go on that page, you're just like, oh, well, the only thing I can really do here is download the app, which there's a link to the app. And it's definitely woken me up for future projects. It was a smart thing by them.
And I think what you mentioned earlier about creating an Instagram page for your protagonist, it is a lot of work, but perhaps if you had one strong character, that is a very innovative way of using social media. I mean, no one really has created an Instagram page for a fictional character of a book. And because people really get attached to characters, or if it's a series, especially, I mean, like Harry Potter, right? Then it turns into a novel. So that's, and people will, even with Netflix, say people will get addicted to a series, and they'll start getting, affection and attachment for the main character, and they'll immediately go Google the cast and find out who that person really is, and then they'll follow the actual actor. But creating a page for the created character, I think, takes a whole new dimension, because in the same way that in this generation that's so present on social media, we start following, I don't know if you know that fictional character that's been designed online. She's
There's a
She's
few. There's a few. Yeah, there's a couple, but there's
they're
one that's most popular.
there's one that's
She gets
huge.
getting
She
deals
blew
with
up.
Vodafone and that.
Oh
Getting
yeah,
deals with
massive,
that.
massive.
Yeah.
She's doing photo shoots. I mean, photo shoots, right? That are that are AR designed with the biggest brands, and
Yeah.
the page has amassed millions of followers. So
Mm,
I think that's a really great and
yeah.
original
Yeah,
idea.
and I think that things like that will happen and will be created when there's more of a visual of who she is. I just
Right.
there was a part of it was because I'm planning on turning it into a TV series, which is I'm working on it now.
Cool.
So when that happens, that's in the pipeline, to do that and to create one for all the characters. But then we can at least have a vision of who she is and what she looks like, and
Yeah.
yeah, because you got to be careful too, because if people have a vision of who she is and what she is, they've sort of there's got to be
Has to match with. Yeah.
That's it. So
So do you have any other tips other than collaborating with pages that are like for someone that wants to start a label, or someone that is an influencer? Do you have any other tips as to how they can grow their audience?
I mean, if it's online, I still think that Instagram, and like I haven't done much in the paid ads, like as far as sponsored ads through Facebook itself or through Instagram itself, but I have branched out to even collab on Facebook, which I think a lot of people have neglected. And
Yeah.
the great thing that collabing on Facebook does is it allows you to put your link directly in the caption, which Instagram doesn't do. That's really, really powerful. And a lot of people neglect that because they think Insta's the only thing that's around, and that has become. But I've realized recently, because I was like, I did so much on Instagram, I was like, I need to branch out because I saw things starting to plateau a bit. So I was like, I got to look at different platforms. And I read this, I don't know if you've heard of Nielsen. They're a company that sort of, they analyze everything from marketing to books to whatever, movies. They're a massive, massive company in the US. And I read a marketing report from them, and they were saying this year and leading on is all about innovation. You got to be innovative, and you got to cross a platform. You got to multi-platform.
Yeah. And I guess
so you got to,
Instagram and Facebook came up with that new feature where you can both collaboratively post simultaneously and tag each other's product, which is a great way of
yeah. And I think I was stopped because of COVID doing some other things that I wanted to do, which was OOH, which is out of home marketing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's sort of like billboards, bus stops. There's guerrilla marketing as well, stunt marketing, experiential, which I'm a massive fan of and I love. Like Richard Branson was great at it. Jeff Bezos was great at it. PR and press is still the number one thing, and I'm actually working on getting more of that now. Should have probably kicked myself up the butt a while ago to be onto it, but I feel like everything happens in its own time, and you got to progress. But you put money into PR. Pay a PR agency 15 grand, 10 grand for 3 months, and get them to get the word out there. Like, it's still very powerful when people see that you've got press. And you still got to have something good, because no one's going to write about you if you don't. But you see all these things in newspapers and magazines and all these write-ups online, and you think, how did they get that press? They're all working with an agency. It's like 70%, like it's 30%. Journalists are going out and finding their own stories. They're swamped with things, and editors are swamped with things all the time. They've got a vast array of things to choose from, and topics and subjects. They don't need to go out and search for them actively unless they come across it. So PR, out of home marketing, still very powerful, but I would do experiential. Experiential is very powerful, which is, like I had planned on getting like 100 people in hazmat suits in New York to be walking down the street with my book and kissing with hazmat suits on. But it was like going to be, there was a few things that stopped it legally, but in hindsight, I probably should have done it still. So like, just be bold and do
even
it.
more
but
of
I wasn't over there. And that's why, because of COVID, I couldn't get over there. I had all these things. So yeah, Experiential too. Look, Google that.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. Sounds really interesting. And the hazmat
Yeah.
suit action would have definitely gotten the word out.
Yeah.
So so you're talking a lot about printed PR. Do you feel like social media advertising is greater or at getting a bigger outreach than printed?
Well, I mean, I guess it's still digital, but it's just mainstream. It's just mainstream media. So regardless of whether it's digital or printed, mainstream media is still, yeah, you're still
Has a better
powerful.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah, because they promote things as well. You know, they even with Apple News and stuff, there's always things popping up on my screen.
So which social media presence are you more present on?
It's Instagram, I'd say.
Instagram.
Facebook a bit more lately, but Facebook I don't direct people to my page on there, even though there's some people are finding it the Modern Breakup page, because I've realized that there was less link clicks when I put the page name, when I tagged the page name and put the website link.
Yeah.
So I decided just to put the website link because that's what's going to get me direct sales.
So in what ways would you say you use it? Do you use it to reach awareness or for direct sales?
Well, more for direct sales, because a brand awareness for me isn't so important. More so because it's an item that you buy once and you don't really need to buy again. If I was, selling something that needed to be constantly bought, or a subscription based, or it was a deodorant that you needed to buy again every month, I would want to be at the front of people's minds, because it's like, hey, remember me, don't forget, that you've got a brand, and we're a brand, and you used us and you liked us, and you want that, because they'll go somewhere else. And I think that's why the biggest brands in the world market. And if people don't realize that, if anyone doesn't need to market, you would think it would be the biggest brands. Like, why does McDonald's have to advertise? They're the biggest. We're always going to go to McDonald's. But the truth is, you won't, because if they're not advertising and they're not around, you'll go to KFC because you see their advertisement. It's just the way we're built as human beings. So they know more than anybody that they need to be constantly in your face, and that's why they're the biggest. People think that they can advertise and they can spend all this money on advertising because they are the biggest, but it's actually the other way around. It's because they advertise more than anybody else that they're the biggest.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And people, they want to hold on to their money and they don't want to spend money, but they're stunting their own growth.
Yeah,
it's the way to do it. You should definitely, especially when you're in the growth stage, I think you should be putting at least 30% back in just in marketing alone. Okay. I mean, I would even go to say 50% if you want to grow it fast.
Yeah.
If you want to grow it, that's me. I don't know. And I just from studying companies, and I'm looking to build something soon, which is an app, and that's what I'll be doing. It's all the money's going to be going back into building it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we ask, is it going to be a social media app or?
It's actually a dating app that I've sort of developing up, because I think that I can't say too much about it, but I feel like there's things changing and there's things moving, and in that space, and it feels like a flooded space, but everyone's going to keep using it. It's not going anywhere, and we can take a big piece of the pie. I think but it's unique. It's digital. It's just forcing people to do something that I feel is going to be beneficial. Sounds very vague.
Yeah, we're eager to know more. Is there a launch date for it?
Oh, no. I just did a design, which is like a clickable design.
Okay.
So you can click through everything. It's all colored, and it's basically exactly how the app will look, but now is the next phase. But got to going to cost a lot more than what I thought.
Yeah,
After
apps are
everyone's been looking at it. So it's got to work out all that sort of stuff. But we'll get there.
And one last question. So do you feel like social media has impacted your business or the sales in your books, and do you feel like it played a big role in?
100%, 100%. And it's where we're at. It's the generation that we're in. We can use this platform. We've got massive reach. But in saying that, I think if it wasn't around, I would have found another way. So like you can always find a way. It's like back in the days when there wasn't Spotify to download songs. People would go out and buy albums, and artists would probably make more money because they were selling $30 albums and, selling millions and millions of copies. So whatever generation you're in, you have to use what's available, and you got to be innovative. And this is where we're at, and this is our time. So there is a lot more competition, but you don't have to start fresh. A great idea is a good idea made better. So you can just look at good ideas and say, oh, well, that's good. Well, maybe I can tweak that. And that's good content. And that was popular content. Maybe I can just tweak it a little bit and make it my own. So you don't need to think of some elaborate idea that's state of the art, new, and is going to change the world. That's not the way it really works. And a lot of people know that.
In fact, when you launched your first book, the Who Says You Can't, You Do, was Instagram around as much as it is today and used in the same way?
It was. I didn't use it as much. I was late. I've been late on all of them. I'm a skeptic on all of them. So I've always been like, oh, no. Like I had a girlfriend who was telling me to go on Instagram to advertise Who Says You Can't, You Do for years.
Okay.
I released it in 2015, and I didn't start advertising it until late 2017. So I just sat on the book. I was doing other projects. I didn't care really about it. I wrote it as a love thing. And then I was like, yeah. And then I saw the power of social media, and then I was like, I got to use this. And then I started the page for Who Says You Can't, You Do, which is now I've changed over to my personal name. But originally that was a book name. And I think I was the first ever on Instagram to create a page for the book, for a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And many came after that, but it was good. It was good to start.
Yeah,
2015
was really the boom of Instagram, the wave of brands starting to gift influencers for collaborations and that whole like exchange mechanism.
Some people doing it even earlier. They really got on earlier, and I take my hat off to them. It was very smart. Yeah, I read up about it.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
They were doing it as soon as 2013, and I was like, wow, like that's raw. And they reckon
Triangle
like
Swimwear.
have 10,000. Yeah, to have
Triangle Swimwear was the first brand.
Yeah, and people didn't have millions of followers then. It was like 10,000, 15,000, and that was huge.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to really the word. But anyway, just like make money from that. Capitalize. Capitalize. But the way to capitalize back then was just there wasn't as much noise.
There was a huge return on. I remember because I jumped on the bandwagon when I saw Triangle Swimwear start that, and I was doing it for Tequila, my mother's swimwear label, and I remember gifting an influencer that had only 8,000 followers, so she hadn't even hit the 10K benchmark, which is sort of like sought after now. She was on 8,000 followers, and one post with a tag yields a 400 follower return back to us, which is a huge like ratio compared to what you get now, because obviously it's flooded now with all of these collaborations, and people aren't so interested in seeing
5% of her following. That's 5% of her following. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. It's just that's what we're in now, and the market has changed, and people with 8,000 followers want $2,000 a post now, which you never do. You always negotiate. But I'm just saying, well, not always, but back then they were just taking free products all the time. Now they're getting a million inboxes to get free products. So yeah, you gotta think outside the square now and think outside the box and start doing things that are a bit more innovative, but you don't have to
Yeah.
change the formula completely.
Yeah, well, I think that creating an Instagram page for your protagonist would be an amazing point. And also, I mean, just seeing as how, you know, you were the first person, you were one of the first to create an Instagram page for your book. And now I almost feel like it's become something common for people to do, creating Instagram page for a new Netflix series or for a new
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So I
Yeah,
feel like it might go in that direction where people will then want an Instagram page for the protagonist to follow. And
yeah. It's gonna
series.
happen. It's gonna happen.
Great. Well, super interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your tips and your
No
journey with
problem.
us. We're excited to hear about your app when that launches.
Yeah,
And yeah,
sounds
thank you
good.
for your time, Daniel. That was great.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.